Okay, we're ready. We'll call this meeting to order. First thing is roll call.
Jonathan Clore.
Marissa Treat.
Paul Foster for Miles Davidson.
Butch Freeman.
Keith Block.
Donna Jackson.
John Wilkerson.
A notice of the meeting was properly posted on July 7th, 2025. The next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance. How about you, Paul? Would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you, sir. Very well. Okay, we've had a request from Mr. Block to move item number 2 to the front of the docket, so we'll go ahead and bring item number 2 up. And this is a report that Keith had asked for, and it's from Stacy Rogers, who incidentally, Mark Cycle, as you know, retired here just a couple of weeks ago. Stacy's been working with Mark for quite some time, so she now heads up that department. So.
And I do apologize to interrupt. May I please get a motion and a second and a vote to pull that up?
I move item 2 to the top of the motion docket, or the motion here.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Keith. Sure.
The question is, I asked for this because I've sat on this board long enough. I know that we've bought a lot of judgments over the years, and I didn't know where the stagger was. And so I asked for this because I want to see where we were, how much we have outstanding in judgments, how much is going to be collected within the current fiscal year, and then what's the outlay going forward. So that's the reason I've asked for this. And could you kind of walk us through this judgment list here?
These are the 6 judgments for 2026 payments, the $595,000, and then 2027 payments. There are going to be 5, which total $262,000. And if you look underneath that, the 2025 payments were roughly about $1.3 million plus the $227,000 in interest, totaling $1.5 million.
So we receive now this money goes into the defined benefit plan, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the defined benefit plan received $1.5 million in receipts during the fiscal 25 year. And so in the fiscal 26, they're entitled to principal of $595 plus the according interest. Round numbers is going to be around another $100,000. Okay. And then it falls out again down to 226 the following year. And the current total investment, cash and other investments right now for that retirement trust is $5.1 million. Is that correct?
That is what we have in the retirement investment. Be okay.
It would be okay. So you add the judgment and the retirement investment would be okay to show what our account balance or total investment balance is. Okay. All right.
Other questions?
Move to accept.
Okay, we've got a motion to accept the report as presented. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have accepted it.
Oh,
Thank you, Stacy.
I need a second on that, please.
All right. Back to
Mr. Freeman,
yes.
I apologize for interrupting again.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
May I have your vote, please?
Oh, you sure can.
Thank you, sir.
I should have voted no just so I could have gotten on the board. Yeah. All right. Item number 1, discussion possible action regarding purchase of the stipulated judgment in Dakota Simcoe Horvath versus BOCC. Case number in the amount of $75,000. Stacy, we do have sufficient cash to be able to purchase that, correct? Okay.
For the record, I want to put it on the record. The attorney for the county commissioners is here would you explain this judgment real quick to the board so it gets on the record, please?
I certainly will. And first of all, let me say I very much appreciate you setting this meeting. I know it's an inconvenience to your schedule, so I appreciate that. This is a lawsuit brought by an inmate out of the county jail. It was brought during a time that the sheriff still ran the county jail. And they, as plaintiff's lawyers do, they brought in not only the sheriff's office, but the Board of County Commissioners and other county officers trying to say that they were all liable for this. Mr. Simcoe Horvath was an inmate that said he was assaulted in the jail by a jailer. He suffered some pretty serious injury to the head. And however, the case has just sat there for years. Finally, in the last year or so, the plaintiff's lawyer started to vigorously pursue the case. And we were able to talk to him and say, can we settle the case, reach an agreement to settle for $75,000. Now, we believe that that is a beneficial settlement. Now, let me say I'm a litigation attorney. I'm not a ERISA attorney or a defined benefits plan attorney, so you all know more about that than I do. But just in terms of the litigation, I think the county receives a benefit by having the opportunity for the judgment to be paid to the plaintiff's attorney, the plaintiff and the plaintiff's attorney, now rather than being paid over 3 years. Because if you go to a plaintiff's lawyer and say, well, we'll settle and you'll get your money in 3 years, they stop talking. They don't even entertain that idea. So if you say there is some opportunity for us to structure this in such a way that you can get your money as you would in any other lawsuit in fairly short order, then they, I think, give you a very substantial discount over what they otherwise would have entertained. So all in all, I think it's a very positive settlement. Happy to answer any other questions you might have, but this does resolve, we think, is the last case where the sheriff's office still managed the jail. Now, we certainly have cases against the jail trust, and yes, the county is trying to be brought into those, but those are kind of different dynamics.
I do appreciate, I know being a litigation, I really wanted to hear from the litigation side of this because I wanted to hear the words that this is a beneficial settlement. And by the way, the payout is you get a third plus interest if it's a payout, and they weren't interested in that. So I'm glad to hear that you say this is a beneficial settlement for the county at $75,000. I always, being one of those people that deal with the IRS and stuff, we always hear the word hazards of litigation and the costs and overall what it takes to get there. So I am familiar with the terminology and the fact that if you did get a preferential, like cash now versus cash later, that's good for the county. And I assume that you got all the other documents. That's your problem on the other documents. My concern is what the county's doing. I appreciate that. Saying that, so you say this is the last one for that. The jail trust's got many, many deaths going on since it took over, and those are going to be, we'll take care of those down the road. Is there anything else about this case will go away then?
Right, this is a final disposition.
Okay.
Yeah, let me add kind of one final thought. The way this case was asserted, and I don't want to get into too much detail into the weeds, but the way it was asserted against the county, there was the possibility that the plaintiff's attorney could force the county and the sheriff's office to have to go into many records of past incidents of inmate or staff on inmate assaults. And we've had some prior litigation where the courts have allowed them to go into the jail records to start ferreting out similar records. Well, because of the way the sheriff's office and the jail kept their records, it cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. Well, we don't have to do that with this resolution.
I understand. Again,
So that was a fact.
I'd like to, number one is, I've got this speech prepared, you just gave it for me. I appreciate that. As I have reminded this board time and again, there's two reasons that we will invest in these lawsuits anytime we have the opportunity. First, of course, is a rate of return. And it's hard for us to get any higher rate of return than what we can get on judgments, be it what it is. And the second thing is, it becomes a negotiating tool that you used very successfully to get this thing settled. It's just as you mentioned yourself. Lawyers don't like to have to spread it out over 3 years. They'd much rather come up to us and we write the check, and the retirement system then owes it. So I really appreciate your words. I really appreciate the work that you have done. Everyone in the county benefits because of the work that you have done. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
And I will say, from being on the outside and doing a lot of litigation work as an expert witness in a lot of litigation, I do appreciate it too. I do understand the concept. But I do appreciate it, and I do appreciate the fact that you've done what you can to reduce the overall exposure of the county, which is one of the things that again, I represent the retirees. I do not represent the jail. I don't represent this. My job is to make sure the retirees are treated in the best way. So my only reason I asked the questions is where we were, how it was going, and how we got to here, so that we know what we're getting, what we're buying at the end of the day. And I appreciate that from my very beginning. As my member of this board has said, it's a great, what he calls the great investment for the retirement system, and got a great rate of return. If this were a regular corporation and a regular retirement plan, we couldn't have done it, because it's called self-dealing, and that's not your job. That's our job to worry about that. And so it is considered self-dealing because we're paying a liability of the county, and the county's going to reimburse us for it, but we are paying a liability of the county out of retirement funds. That's my point. That's not your problem. It's going to be ours. The only thing else I think is that as cases like this come up or things come up, I do like the fact that you did explain this. If we have to do this again, which it probably will, I like the fact that we have somebody coming up here and telling us the fact. Enough of the facts. We don't have to go into the weeds. Like you said, I like the fact that I heard the facts, what happened, how we are negating the damages to the county. That's my biggest thing is I want to do everything we can to protect the county, because I'm also a taxpayer.
Right.
And so that I do appreciate, and I appreciate your efforts to keep the county as safe financially as you can through these litigations.
What I tell the county is my job is to manage risk. That's what I try to do.
And that's what litigators do.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Not yet.
Good Lord.
I am making a point, like I said before, you need to be careful. I understand from the get-go, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it now. There's a reason I came up here for this special meeting. I think it's wonderful that you can get great rates of return. I think it's wonderful but we are also depending on the budget board and this county being strong enough that every time there's one of these deals comes due, they can write us the check back into this retirement plan. And I know as long as you're treasurer here, Butch, it's going to happen. I feel faithful that it's going to happen. Someday you won't be here. So I just want to make sure the procedures are in place to protect the retirees. And if that means we have to look at every one of these as close as we can, I will. And I will as long as I sit on this board. It is self-dealing. I am not going to, there's no argument about that. It is. And when you get into self-dealing, that leaves you open for a lot of inquiry from a third party, from your retirees. So I'm just put it on the table like that. And from the next few times, every time we come up with needs in the future, we need to go through the same process. So you can go ahead and call for the question.
Does anybody else have a comment or a question? If not, motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve item number 1 as presented. All in favor? Aye.
I show to no.
That is reflected.
Thank you.
I'm just sitting here thinking if I want to address anything. And I appreciate the words, as long as I'm treasurer, and as long as I'm treasurer, I will always be recommending to this board that we buy the judgments. This plan was started as a negotiating tool, as I mentioned, and it has worked very well. We can put these on the tax rolls all day long and collect it in 3 years. But if we can save the county $25,000 because the lawyer wants his money instantly, and I understand that, then I will promise you, I will not only bring it to this board, but I will very strongly push forward. So anyway, enough on me. Item number 3, John.
Sure. This is for our upcoming retiree election. As a reminder, we're gonna have to redo this one. The one person that won that election has stepped down. So we're gonna have the following period: July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Withdrawal period is the 24th. Voting is gonna be Monday, August 4th. Friday, August 4th, excuse me, let me start over. Friday, August 1st, Monday, August 4th, and Tuesday, August 5th. So those results will be ready for the August meeting.
I'm sorry, when are those?
Okay, let's start this again. Yeah.
It's in the memo. It's in the memo.
It's in the memo.
It's in the memo.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the re-election of the election. All in favor? Aye. All right. Do we have any citizens signed up to participate? Seeing none?
Move to adjourn.
Let's see if the board's got any comments first. Start right down here.
No comments, sir. Thank you.
Just wanted to note that we passed out the parliamentary procedure rules that the commissioners and the budget board passed, and we are using this in all subcommittees. So we wanted to make sure you guys got a hard copy of it. Happy to email it over if you would like to. No discussion, just wanted to make sure everyone had it.
Thank you, Madam County Clerk.
No comment.
None. I've said my piece.
None.
None.
Move to adjourn.
Got a second?
Second.
All right. And I've already read this thing half a dozen times. Do we automatically adjourn or do we have to take a vote or what do we do? You have to vote on it? Good. Okay, we got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
I'm not taking it.
You are?